Hey y'all, so I wanted to do an update video. I get several messages and questions regarding my heart failure from a few years ago and specifically on my cardiac event monitor video. So I wanted to just let you guys know a little bit about my journey and give you some updates. So for those of you who don't know my story, in 2014, I was diagnosed with heart failure in June of 2014, and I had an ejection fraction of a little under 30%. It was shocking, to say the least. I had been through a lot of other things, and this was just something that they missed in the hospital, and something that was caught almost by accident, and I didn't really have the typical heart failure symptoms. I believe that the heart failure was caused by a virus called CMV, and to hear more of that specific journey, you can go back and see some of my other videos, because I'm not going to get into all of that in this video, but specifically I'm going to stick with the heart failure. So I was in the hospital for a couple weeks with CMV and was super sick and had sepsis and all that stuff. And when I got out of the hospital, I was still in a lot of pain. Specifically, I had a lot of back pain. And the pain was up here, and it was really excruciating. And basically, I was just going through a lot of testing to figure out why I was having such bad back pain. And I was having a little bit of shortness of breath, but not what you would expect with having heart failure. So I went to the cardiologist just to rule out anything heart-related that would be causing my back issues. I was 29 at the time, and everybody was like, oh, well, you're healthy, you're young, you're not overweight. Of course, you're not going to have any heart problems. And they sent me to get an echo on my heart just as a rule-out procedure. And everyone was super shocked to see what my ejection fraction actually was. And so I immediately was put on some beta blockers, and I was on metoprolol, and then also I was on lisinopril for a while. But the lisinopril was too much for me, and basically I got to a point where I couldn't even stand up from sitting down without blacking out. So I stopped taking the lisinopril, and so I was diagnosed in June of 2014 with the echo at 30%, and a month later, after taking the lisinopril and the beta blocker, I had an MRI on my heart, and my ejection fraction had already gone back up to 42%, which was great, and it kind of hung out there for a while. I had echoes on my heart every few months just to kind of keep check on things, and every time it was just kind of hanging out right around 45 to 50, which for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with heart failure, with heart failure, 50% to 60 isn't a normal range, so I was kind of right there teetering on normal. So I was very lucky in that it bounced back very quickly. So I was mostly recovered after about a year, and then I got pregnant again, which was really scary. And actually a lot of people recommended not getting pregnant again just because my heart might not be able to handle it. But luckily, we were super blessed, and my ejection fraction went up, actually, when I got pregnant to 60, which was amazing, and stayed that way through the whole pregnancy. And actually, it's funny, when I was in labor with my daughter, I had an echo in the middle. I literally stopped pushing to, check my heart, because they just wanted to make sure that everything was going to be fine, and luckily it was. And since then, so before I got pregnant, I had a lot of, I had anxiety because of knowing that I had heart failure. It really just messes with your head, and it's super scary. And a lot of times anxiety will mimic heart issues, so I really struggled with that. And so I ended up wearing a Holter monitor. This is about probably 6 months after my diagnosis. I was having like palpitations and was super scary, and so they did the Holter monitor and they didn't find anything, and so then I did the cardiac event monitor, where I did a video on that where I like would push the button when I felt like I was having a heart episode, and it would send it to the doctors and they could look at it, and they actually found out that it really was more anxiety than anything. And so that's something that I still do struggle with the anxiety, but luckily I have been recovered now for a few years, and besides dealing with the anxiety about it, I have not really had any other heart issues. And about 4 months ago, I actually weaned off the beta blockers totally. So I have been on metoprolol since my diagnosis and just got off of that. And luckily have not been, haven't had any other issues. So still just praying that things continue to go positively. Even though I am recovered, it's still scary to have had that diagnosis, and just to know that I had heart failure before I was 30, and so that's crazy. But anyways, so that's my update. It's a little more long-winded than I meant for it to be, but for those of you wondering, I'm doing really well, and things with my heart seem to be going well. So thanks for watching.